Haley is moving to Milwaukee, Wisconsin after her college graduation to start her career. Haley and her mom have made the trip from Pennsylvania to Milwaukee to look at apartments and hopefully find one that meets Haley's expectations and needs.
So at the top of my wish list is natural light. Wherever I live, there has to be a lot of natural light coming in because I cannot function if I'm in the dark. I get sad and lonely, and especially since I'll be living alone for the first time, I definitely need to be in a good mood and to have the natural light coming in. And then I also want to be in a really good location. So I want to be central. So I also want to be in a really good location. I want to be near the lake, and I also want to be kind of near the nightlife and everything that's going on in the city. At the same time, I really want to stay in a safe area. That's obviously a priority. So I definitely have to be somewhere safe, and I'm willing to spend a little bit more to get into a good location. I also want to have a few utilities included, at least heat, and hopefully a couple of the other ones, but heat has to be included. I also have to have parking on site, hopefully covered, because it's going to snow a lot, and I have my car and I have to drive to work, so there has to be parking and not just street parking. That's pretty much it for the necessities, but I also would like a lot of closet space, but I can do without that. But it would be really nice to have a decent amount of closet space and just have some extra room for if guests come to visit, so as big as possible. First place that we looked at was listed for $7.99 a month, and that includes all utilities except for electric and cable. So adding those in, I'd probably pay maybe $8.50 to $8.80 a month, plus an additional $100 for the parking. So that would put it up to $9.50 to $9.80 a month. The parking is in a garage and it's covered, so I would be all set in the bad weather. We weren't able to see the actual apartment that I would be living in, but we saw a different model, and it was a 2-bedroom that we actually looked at, but she said it was very similar to the 1-bedroom that I would be living in. And I really liked this one because it had a ton of natural light coming in. As soon as I walked in, it had a huge window. So it also had a really nice sized kitchen. It had a half wall in it, so you could have could be cooking and entertaining at the same time, which we love. And then it had a decent sized bathroom, and the bedroom was actually a good size, and there were some good closets, a ton of linen closet space, and then the closet in my bedroom was a good size too. So I definitely would have room for guests, for people coming over, or for people staying from out of town. The only thing I didn't really love is that even though it was in the general location that I want to be in, it was kind of in the college area, and I'm going to be a professional. I'm not in college anymore, so I don't really want to be living with college kids. And overall, I really liked it. The price was a little bit higher when you factor in parking and utilities that aren't covered. So I did want to keep looking, but this was a really, really good option and a really great start to our apartment hunt. Our next stop was actually a studio apartment, and I was really apprehensive about this one because I did not want to live in a studio. I'm willing to look, but I don't really want to live in one. And the reason that I looked at this studio is because it's in the apartment complex that I really wanted to live in. It's right on the lake. You have a great view of the lake, and it's really close to the nightlife and the music festivals and basically everything that's going on in Wisconsin, which I really loved. And I wanted to look at a 1-bedroom here, but that was listed at $900 for just the rent. So we decided to look at the studio instead, and that was listed for $720. And that includes all utilities except cable and electric. And then parking's an additional $100, but it's covered parking. I really liked this one because of all the closet space it has. It has a giant walk-in closet, which would be perfect for all of my clothes and just to store a lot of extra stuff that I am going to bring with me. The bathroom was also a good size, just what I need. And then it also had the cute little vanity in between the closet and the bathroom, which was really nice. So I really liked this one because of the view even though we were on the side of the building, the windows were set up so that if you look to the left, you can see the lake and everything, and then if you look to the right, you can see the whole city. And a lot of natural light was coming in, which I love. And the one thing with the studio though is it's not really, I mean, I'm gonna be living alone, but my bedroom and my whole apartment are exactly in the same space. So if I have people over, they're gonna kind of just be looking at all of my stuff. But overall, I really liked this one. I love the location, and the one thing that I really, really love is the sun deck that they have on the first floor. So you can go down and go out into the sun deck and overlook the lake anytime you want, and the view is amazing. The next two apartments that we looked at were from the same company, both listed for I think $745 a month, and that includes heat and gas and water, and then I would have to pay for electric and cable again, and then parking would be an additional $100. But parking there at both of these locations was not covered. It's just a parking lot, which is fine, but in the snow it would be really tough to kind of shovel my car out because it's definitely going to snow a lot. These apartments, when I first went in, it kind of had an interesting smell. Really nice sizes. The bedroom was pretty small, but I mean, I don't really need a ton of space. And then the closet was a good size. The living room was pretty big. I was impressed. And then the kitchen was basically just the bare minimum, nothing special. Both of these apartments were kind of just the bare minimum. I think their square footage was about $450, but the price point was really low for a one bedroom. It seemed a little bit run down, which I didn't love, but the location was really, really good. It was very close to all the nightlife. And the final place that I looked at was another studio in a really good location again, not on the lake, but very close and a little bit closer to the nightlife and some restaurants. The building itself was a little bit older, and so it had some character to it. It had nice hardwood floors. It was really beautiful. And the space for my bedroom slash living room area was actually pretty large. It wasn't sectioned off as well as the other studio that I saw was. This studio really stood out to me because of the kitchen. The kitchen was absolutely beautiful. It was completely redone. It was a good size. It had stainless steel appliances. The rent was $7.95, and that only included heat and water. So I would have to pay for gas, electric, and cable. And this was $7.95, so it was just about the same price as the first one bedroom that I saw, even though this was just a studio and it didn't have a lot of the same inclusions. We've just looked at a bunch of apartments and now we're trying to figure out which one to choose. How many did we even look at?
I think we looked at six or seven.
What are your thoughts? What's your first choice?
So my first choice for you would be the studio apartment that was had a lot of light and it was near the lake. I thought that even though we have a little bit of a concern about the floor that it might be on, it was big, and it was one of the big it was one of the largest ones square foot wise, even though it was a studio, out of all of them. So that was my first choice.
What's your last choice?
Last choice was I think the one without the parking. I think you need to have parking. So even though
that studio,
yeah, it had some character with the wood, and the wood floors, and it had some wood doors, but I think that was my last choice. What about you?
We can immediately eliminate the two we looked at, the one that kind of smelled of cannabis, and
Agreed.
the one that the same lady showed us, because
Agreed.
it was like really disgusting, not to be rude.
Yeah, those were And they didn't have good views at all, even though
It's
that
like
you're
a
not
cave.
buying a hotel. But
It was a cave.
yeah, it was, and it looked. One of them looked out on cement blocks.
I saw 2 trash cans out the window.
Yeah.
That was a nice view.
Yeah.
But even though they checked off most things on my list, they weren't as nice as I had hoped, and as some of the ones I had seen. And then I'd say my top 2 are the studio and the first one we saw that had the big window. The first one that we saw and the studio. I really liked the studio. I'm just hesitant about if there's enough natural light and if I actually want to have a studio or if I want to go with a 1-bedroom. But the 1-bedroom was pretty small and everything was crammed, and square footage wise it was smaller than the studio, even though it was 1 bedroom. So we've got our hands full here.
We do. We laughed, we cried, we argued.
Yep, classic.
But I think it was I think we have a winner.
Yeah. The one thing about the studio too is that it was a much better price. The 1-bedroom was really pushing the top of my budget, so that would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And if we want to add parking on top of that, which I would have to do, it was even more of a stretch. So the studio is a much better price, but in the end, I don't know.
And it has a big walk-in closet. Remember, you really liked that walk-in closet.
I did like the walk-in closet.
Yeah. And the dressing table. Remember the dressing?
The dressing table.
Well, that's what they have.
I call it a vanity.
A vanity. Well, they say dressing table right there. But that was nice, and the bathroom was large.
Could always have my guests stay in the closet.
I'm not staying in the
You're
closet.
in the closet. I'll get a blow-up mattress. But I don't know. We have a big decision to make, so we'll probably talk it over and write a check and drop it off in the morning at wherever we choose.
I'm so proud of you.
We're here with our check at our final stop. We've made our decision. Write in the comments where you think we are. This is it, everyone. We made our decision. We went with the lakefront studio apartment. It has most things on my checklist, and you can't beat the location.